Fireworks in the dark. Dell sat in the dimly lit corner of the bar, her eyes scanning the room as she nursed a whiskey. Her black hair was pulled back in a tight bun, showcasing the sharp angles of her face and the crimson scar that curved around her lips like a permanent snarl. The jukebox played a mournful tune that seemed to echo the restlessness in her soul. It was a strange choice for a 4th of July celebration, but then again, she was in a strange mood. She had hoped that the anonymity of the lesbian bar would offer her a reprieve from the forced cheer that had infiltrated every other corner of the town. Easter, on the other hand, was in high spirits. Her golden hair bobbed as she danced with her friends, her eyes sparkling with mischief. She didn't look like she had a care in the world, and Dell couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. Dell's life was one of discipline and duty, a stark contrast to the carefree world Easter seemed to inhabit. But as the night grew late and Easter's friends grew tired, Dell found her gaze drawn to the blonde beauty more and more often. When Easter's friends finally dragged her away from the dance floor, Dell took a deep breath and approached her. "I don't usually do this, but I couldn't help but notice you," she said, her voice low and gruff. Easter looked up at her, curiosity in her blue eyes. "What's your summary? 1. Dell, a military-trained lesbian, finds solace in a quiet corner of a lesbian club on 4th of July. Despite her intimidating exterior, she's drawn to the carefree spirit of Easter, a golden-haired, blue-eyed PhD candidate whose playfulness and grace on the dance floor contrasts with Dell's heavy burdens. As the night progresses, Dell's curiosity leads her to approach Easter, acknowledging her attraction amidst the club's dwindling crowd. "Name?" "Easter," the blonde said, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's all I've got." Dell smirked, the name fitting her in a way she couldn't quite explain. "And what's yours?" "Dell," she said, holding out her hand.
"Del Castellanos."
Easter took it, her grip surprisingly firm. "It's nice to meet you, Del Castellanos." Their conversation was interrupted by the DJ announcing the next song, a fast-paced number that made Easter's eyes light up. "Would you like to dance?" she asked, her voice hopeful. Dell hesitated, not used to letting anyone in, especially not someone as bright and vibrant as Easter. But something about her drew her in, made her want to feel alive again. So she nodded, and before she knew it, they were lost in the music, their bodies moving in sync as if they had danced together 100 times before. As the night grew darker outside, the chemistry between them grew stronger. They stumbled out of the bar, the alcohol warming their cheeks and loosening their inhibitions. Easter leaned into Dell, her hand slipping around her waist. "Your place or mine?" she murmured. Dell's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't been with anyone in a long time, and the prospect of letting someone in was both thrilling and terrifying. But as she looked down at Easter's sweet smile, she knew she couldn't resist. "Mine's closer," she said, taking the lead and guiding them down the deserted street. Summary: 1. Dell meets Easter at the bar and they engage in playful banter over drinks, sharing their names. The attraction between them grows stronger as they dance intimately together. As the night deepens, Easter initiates further intimacy, asking Dell to her place or Dell's, which leads to Dell taking the lead and walking them to her own place, their connection palpable amidst the night's festivities. Easter's apartment was a mess of books and papers, a stark contrast to the pristine military base where Dell spent most of her days. But it was cozy, and as they stumbled through the doorway, their lips met in a kiss that was both fiery and gentle. Dell's hands roamed over Easter's curves, exploring the softness she had only dreamed of. Easter's own hands were just as eager, pulling at Dell's shirt and leaving a trail of kisses down her neck. Their clothes fell away, revealing the beauty of their bodies in the soft glow of the moonlight. Dell's scars were a stark contrast to Easter's unblemished skin, a testament to the harshness of her own life. But as they tumbled onto the bed, all thoughts of the outside world disappeared. For one night, Dell allowed herself to feel something other than anger and bitterness, and it was a feeling she hadn't realized she had missed so much. Their lovemaking was intense, each touch and kiss a declaration of passion and desire. Easter's moans filled the room, her body responding to every caress and thrust. Dell felt a connection she hadn't felt in years, a sense of belonging that she had lost in the chaos of war and betrayal. The fireworks outside seemed to mirror the explosions of pleasure within her, each burst of color and sound a reminder of the life she had left behind. Summary: 1. At Easter's apartment, their passion escalates as they undress, revealing the stark contrast between Dell's scarred body and Easter's unblemished skin. Their lovemaking is intense and healing for Dell, offering a brief respite from her tumultuous past and allowing her to feel a sense of belonging she hadn't experienced in a long time, echoed by the distant fireworks celebrating the national holiday. As they lay tangled together, panting and sweaty, Dell felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time: peace. Easter's hand traced patterns on her arm, and she leaned in to press a gentle kiss to her forehead. "Thank you," Dell murmured, her voice thick with emotion. Easter looked at her with a warm smile. "For what?" Dell swallowed, her throat tight. "For reminding me that I'm still human, that there's still good in this world. For giving me a night I'll never forget." Easter's eyes searched hers, understanding and compassion in their depths. "You deserve so much more than this, Delaware. More than one night of happiness. You deserve to be loved and cherished every day." Dell's heart clenched at the sincerity in her voice. It was a sentiment she hadn't heard in a long time, not since the last person who had cared for her had been taken away. "I don't know if I can do that again," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Easter's hand stilled on her arm. "Do you want to try?" The question hung in the air between them, as potent as the scent of their passion. Dell's heart raced as she considered it. Could she open herself up again? Could she risk the pain of loss and betrayal? Finally, she took a deep breath and nodded. "Yes," she said, her voice firm. "I want to try." Their kiss was tender, a promise of what could be. They held each other close, the fireworks outside fading into the background as they created their own celebration of life and love. The next morning, Dell awoke to the sound of Easter's soft snores. She propped herself up on one elbow and studied her sleeping beauty. Her blonde hair fanned out on the pillow, her skin pale and perfect in the early light. Dell felt a warmth spread through her, a feeling she had long ago buried. Carefully, she slid out of bed and began to dress. She had to return to the base, but she knew she would carry this night with her, a secret treasure to keep her warm in the cold, dark days ahead. As she slipped out the door, she whispered a final goodbye, the words lingering in the air like a hopeful prayer. The walk back to the base was a blur of memories and newfound feelings. Dell's mind raced with thoughts of Easter's touch, her laugh, the way she had looked at her. It was a feeling she hadn't allowed herself to experience in so long, and it was both exhilarating and terrifying. As she approached the gates, she took one last look back at the town, the lights of the club still flickering in the distance. A part of her wanted to stay, to explore this newfound connection, but she knew she couldn't. Her duty called and she had a mission to complete. With a heavy heart, she turned and walked back into the shadows of her military life. But even as she disappeared into the night, she knew that she had been forever changed by her encounter with Easter. And she hoped in some small way that she had changed Easter too. That maybe, just maybe, their paths would cross again in a world that wasn't so full of pain and fear. Until then, she would hold on to the memory of that perfect 4th of July night, when she had found a spark of hope in the most unexpected of places. Dell returned to the base, Her thoughts a whirlwind of emotions she hadn't felt in years. The usual routine of PT and briefings felt almost alien to her, as if she were watching from a distance. Her comrades noticed the softness in her eyes, the way she moved with a little more grace. But they didn't question it. They knew better than to ask about what happened when one of them went on leave. As the days turned into weeks, Dell found herself counting the moments until she could return to the club, to see if Easter would be there again. The anticipation grew with each passing day, a delicious ache that she both dreaded and craved. Finally, the night came. Dell's heart pounded as she stepped through the door, her eyes searching the crowd for a glimpse of golden hair. And there she was, sitting at the same table, a hint of a smile playing on her lips as she watched the dancers. Dell took a deep breath and approached, her stomach in knots. "Hi," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Easter looked up, her eyes widening in surprise before a grin spread across her face.
Dell.
"I wasn't sure you'd come back." Dell shrugged, trying to play it cool. "Thought I'd give it another shot. This place isn't so bad, you know?" Easter laughed, the sound warming her soul. "I'm happy you think so. Want to dance?" Dell nodded, her heart racing. As they hit the dance floor, the music seemed to swell around them, their bodies moving together in a silent conversation that needed no words. And as they danced, she realized that maybe, just maybe, she had found a piece of home in the arms of this beautiful stranger. Their connection grew stronger with each stolen glance, each touch. Dell found herself looking forward to her nights out, eager to see Easter's smile, to feel the warmth of her body against her own. It was a dangerous game, one that could easily get out of hand, but she couldn't help it. She was falling for the PhD candidate, and she didn't want to stop. One night, as they lay entwined in the aftermath of their passion, Easter spoke up. "Dell, I know you're not just a regular Joe. There's something about you, something intense. What do you do?" Dell took a deep breath, the truth heavy on her chest. She had never talked about her work with anyone outside the military, not since. But looking into Easter's eyes, she knew she had to be honest. "I'm a commander in the armed forces," she said, watching for any sign of fear or judgment. To her surprise, Easter's smile didn't waver. "And you're still here dancing with me," she said, her voice full of wonder. "That's pretty intense in its own right." Dell felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Maybe, just maybe, she could have it all. The love she craved, and the life she had dedicated herself to. Maybe Easter could be the one to help her balance the two. As they grew closer, Dell began to open up about her past, her fears, and her hopes for the future. And Easter listened, her eyes full of compassion and understanding. They talked for hours, their conversations as intimate as their lovemaking. But the world outside the club was a harsh reminder of the reality they faced. Dell's missions grew more frequent, the danger more palpable, and Easter's studies took her deeper into the world of academia, a place where the horrors of war seemed a distant nightmare. Still, they found solace in each other, their stolen moments of joy a beacon in the dark. They knew that their love was a fragile thing, a delicate bloom in a field of thorns, but they also knew that it was worth fighting for. As the months passed, Dell found herself dreading the day she would have to leave Easter behind, to face the world without her warmth. But for now she held her close, savoring every touch, every whispered word of love. For now they had each other, and in the quiet corners of their hearts, they hoped it would be enough. One evening as they danced to a slow song, Easter leaned into Dell's ear. "I've got something to tell you," she murmured, her breath tickling Dell's skin. Dell's heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" she asked, her voice low. Easter pulled back slightly, her eyes shining with excitement. "I've been offered a teaching position at a university. It's a huge opportunity for me, but it's across the country. Dell felt a knot form in her stomach. She had known this day would come, but she hadn't expected it so soon. She searched Easter's eyes, looking for a clue as to what she wanted her to say. "That's amazing, Easter," she said, forcing a smile. "You have to take it. It's everything you've worked for." Easter's face fell a little. "But what about us?"
Dels trobat dictanat.
"We'll figure it out," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. "Distance doesn't have to mean goodbye. We can make this work. I'll visit when I can. And when my tour is up." The words trailed off as they both knew the unspoken truth. Dell's life was not her own, not until she was discharged. And even then, who knew where her duty would take her? The next few weeks were a blur of packing and goodbyes. Dell helped Easter pack her apartment, her heart heavy with each box they filled. They talked of the future, of a time when Dell would be free to join her, but the words felt hollow in the face of the immediate reality. Finally, the day came. Easter's eyes were red and puffy from crying as she hugged Dell tightly. "Please be safe," she whispered. Dell nodded, her own eyes misting over. "I'll come back to you," she promised. They kissed one last time, the taste of Easter's tears mixing with hers. Then Easter was gone, disappearing into the night with a suitcase full of dreams and a heart that felt like it was being torn in two. Dell watched her go, her hand rising to her lips, feeling the phantom kiss. She knew that the road ahead was fraught with danger, but she also knew that she had found something worth fighting for. And as she turned back to the base, she made a silent vow. She would come back to Easter, no matter what it took. The months dragged on, filled with the monotony of military life and the ache of longing. Dell threw herself into her work, burying her pain in the discipline she knew so well. Letters and emails passed between them, filled with love and longing, but it was never enough. She missed the smell of Easter's hair, the feel of her skin, the way she laughed when Dell told terrible jokes. One night, as she lay in her bunk, staring at the ceiling, she made a decision. She would finish her tour with honor, and then she would leave the military behind. For Easter. For them. The days grew shorter as the months passed, and soon it was time for Dell to return to the club, to the place where they had first met. She wore her dress blues, a silent declaration of her intentions. As she stepped into the club, the music washed over her, the memories almost too much to bear. And there she was, Easter standing by the bar, looking as beautiful as ever. Dell's heart skipped a beat, and she knew she had made the right choice. She strode over, a smile playing on her lips. "I'm back," she said, her voice filled with hope. Easter's eyes lit up, and she threw her arms around Dell, burying her face in her neck. "I knew you would be," she whispered. Dell held her tight, feeling the warmth of her love seep into her bones. They had a future to build, and she was ready to start now. Their kiss was a promise, a declaration that no matter the battles ahead, they would face them together. And as the music swelled around them, they danced, their hearts beating in sync with the rhythm of their love. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. Dell threw herself into her work, counting down the days until she could be with Easter again. The ache of separation grew with every mission, every time she had to leave the warmth of her arms. But she knew that her sacrifice was for a greater good. For them. In between her duties, Dell wrote to Easter, pouring her heart out onto paper. She told her of the pain she felt, the longing that consumed her, and the moments of joy she found in her work that made her believe in a brighter future. Easter's letters were a balm to her soul, filled with tales of her new life, her students, and the quiet moments she missed Dell in. Their love grew stronger with every word, a testament to the bond they had forged. Finally, the day came. Dell's tour was over and she was free. Free to choose her path, free to be with the woman she loved. She boarded the plane with a sense of excitement and fear. What would the future hold? Would Easter still be waiting for her? The plane touched down and Del's heart raced as she stepped off into the unknown. The air was filled with the scent of a new beginning, and she could almost feel Easter's presence guiding her through the crowded airport. And there she was, standing outside the terminal, her golden hair shimmering in the sunlight. Their reunion was everything Del had dreamed of and more. Easter threw herself into her arms, and they kissed as if they had never been apart. The world around them faded away, leaving only the warmth of their embrace. "I've missed you so much," Easter whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "And I you," Del said, her voice choking with unshed tears. "But I'm here now. For good." They had a life to build, a love to nurture. They had challenges ahead, but in that moment all that mattered was that they were together. And as they drove away from the airport, the horizon stretching out before them, Del knew that she had found her home. Not in the barracks, not on the battlefield, but in the arms of the woman who had shown her that love could conquer even the darkest of days.